was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. At an early age, my mom and dad divorced. I started working construction at 13 years old. I also started using drugs at 9 years old. I was just looking for attention other places than at home. My dad was never in my life that much. My mom, after 7 years of being in a foster home, my mom was the first one to become financially able to take my brother and I back. I continued to use drugs while I lived with my mom. I dropped out in the 12th grade. I never made it through high school. And then in 1985, I actually met a woman in a bar, and 3 months later we had got married and moved to the state of Florida from 1985 till 2005. But the last 3 years of my marriage, I became highly addicted to painkillers. It had put her at odds with her family. It came to the point where we were both going to be homeless, and I didn't want that, so I took her back to Maryland. I had her reconcile with her family. 3 months later, I found myself back down in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I remained there for 7 years. That's where God chose to bring me to the end of myself, and He also chose to relentlessly pursue me. He placed two of His faithful servants in my path that came to the homeless shelter that I was staying in. The church that they were from came down every Friday night. They embraced me, they hugged me, they loved me, they prayed for me. Eventually they started taking me out to their church. One day I'd asked one of them, where they got this peace and this joy, and they were so full of life, and they shared with me that they had received Christ in their life. They had given their life over to Jesus. And so finally I just broke out into tears, and I said, okay, Lord, I said, I surrender. I recognized that my problem wasn't my drug problem, it was my sin problem, and that Jesus took care of that problem for me on the cross at Calvary, and He just wanted me to receive that, to believe that He did that for me. And so I did it that night, and the very next morning when I woke up, I had that peace that the Word of God talks about, the peace that surpasses all understanding, the joy that's unspeakable. So right there, God had opened up a door for me. One of the pastors got on the phone with me, and he said, look, he says, we want to offer to send you to New Orleans to be in a discipleship ministry there. I thought I was going out to Giving Hope Retreat at first, but I wound up spending 7 weeks at the mission, which I wouldn't trade for anything, because that's where God started to really work on me. I went out to Giving Hope Retreat for 4 months, and I went out there and I served God by renovating a dorm out there so other guys could have a place to stay out there, more disciples. After 4 months, God saw fit to bring me back to the mission. He had prepared my heart out there. He totally took the desire away from me to do the drugs. Because when I first came to know Christ, I never allowed Him to come in and take away that desire. It's just by God's grace that I'm even here and alive. I should have been dead 10 times over from all the drugs I used, but He had a purpose for me. He kept me alive even though I was His enemy at the time. I can't live out the rest of my time here on this earth without Him being the Lord of my life. My name is Ron, and I am a disciple.